is where the American War for Independence started, in 1775 here on Lexington Green in Massachusetts. The Minutemen of Lexington heard that the Redcoats were coming to Concord to steal their weapons. While the Concord Minutemen hid their guns and gunpowder, the Lexington force patiently waited for the Redcoats to arrive. The Redcoats marched up the road behind me in a force that largely outnumbered the Americans. The Minutemen of Lexington stood their ground, determined to let the British troops know that they would not stand for tyranny. At this point, the 13 colonies had endured so much from Britain. Up until after the French and Indian War, Britain had left the colonies alone to self-govern in a policy of salutary neglect. The colonists got used to governing themselves and to being left alone. After the French and Indian War, however, Britain was recovering from a global war that it had just won. To avoid another global conflict, the Crown issued a proclamation line, halting expansion westward into Indian territory. The growing population of settlers pushed against this line, needing to expand westward. The British then sent troops to guard that border, and having a standing army in peacetime angered the colonists. Britain started to levy internal taxes on the colonists like the tea tax. The colonists voiced their disapproval with the famous Boston Tea Party and other protests against the royal governors. It was not the taxes themselves that angered the colonists, but the taxes imposed by the Parliament, a Parliament that did not directly represent the colonists. Many rallied around the cry of no taxation without representation. Determined not to have their rights trampled on any longer, the colonists decided to take a stand, just as they did right here in Lexington. However, they wanted peace, not war. Captain Parker of the Minutemen said these famous words, "Stand your ground. Do not fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have a war, let it begin here." And it did. Someone fired a shot, and to this day, no one knows who fired it. But that single shot loosed a volley of bullets from both sides, and the Revolutionary War began. No one thought that the Americans would win. During that time, Britain was the reigning superpower. Who would have thought that a ragtag bunch of Minutemen from a tiny little group of budding colonies would defeat a great superpower like Britain? It wasn't until about a year later that the Declaration of Independence was signed, and our founding fathers pledged their lives, fortune, and sacred honor to make our nation free. So determined were they to be free from a tyrannical Britain that they were willing to give up everything for their cause. Many were willing to die for this cause of freedom, and many did die. Throughout our nation's history, there have been millions who, as Abraham Lincoln put it, gave their last full measure of devotion. Let's be thankful for the men and women who served in our military throughout the history of the United States. Remember that through these people's determination, we enjoy the freedoms and liberties that we do today.